Hello, my name is Josiah Nowak. I'm 17 years old. This is my entry for the Casting Dreams contest. My project is inspired by a hymn by William Cowper called There's a Fountain Filled with Blood. That hymn talks about how Jesus died on the cross for our sins and redeemed us with his blood. Now let's get into what I actually did to make this project. To start out, I cast some hearts using a cast iron baking tray I got for Christmas. Next, I dump them out of the mold. Then plunge them to glue off. Then my friend helped me film this. This was actually my first time working with green sand. I decided to lay my hearts that I had just cast in a green sand mold and then pour aluminum on top of them to make the shape of the fountain. The part that I'm casting right now is the top piece of the fountain, and it thankfully didn't explode because I'd never worked with green sand before. I'd always used Petrobond. So here I'm skimming the top of the aluminum to get the dross off, and then I'm going to go ahead and pour it over the hearts. Now you see as I'm pouring, I'm actually pouring on hearts that I had previously cast, that you just saw me cast. But the issue here is that the aluminum is not going to bond with the solidified hearts. So what I had to do is make sure that the hearts were sticking up enough that there's a friction bond between the aluminum and the hearts, so the hearts can't fall out of the mold. And as you can see, I didn't have quite enough material when I poured it, so there are a little bit of casting imperfections, but I thought it was pretty good. Now, I actually ran out of aluminum scrap to melt, so I had to melt some Mickey Mouse things that I had made previously to pour the second one. Now, this was my first attempt at the base plate, and it did not turn out the way I had hoped. The walls just didn't look right, so I ended up having to recast this, and you'll see here that I also didn't have quite enough material in my crucible. I really should have had two people pouring at once, but this is how it went, and yeah. The issue with this one is the walls turned out wrong, and also, like I was talking about before, since there isn't a actual bond between the hearts and the aluminum where they melt together, it's just a mechanical bond. The hearts started falling out of that one. So this one I redid, and I made the walls differently. To make the walls on these, I had actually used some bowls that I got from Goodwill. So it was pretty simple. This was the second attempt I did at that base plate, and this one turned out okay, but as you can see, like I did with my first part, I didn't have quite enough material in my crucible. Actually, it's a ladle that I'm using as a crucible, so there are some imperfections in the bottom of it, but that's okay. You gotta try stuff to see how it works. This is as soon as I had finished pouring it, and you can see there's still a lot of flashing on the bottom of those molds. It's just being held up by some sockets in that picture. And then I used our belt sander to sand down the edges of the molds to get that flashing off so that the edges were straight. This took quite a long time and was rather difficult, and I went through some belts because of how much pressure I was really putting on the belts, and I was trying to remove so much material, but the end result is really good. This is after a rough sanding on the bottom one. The top one does have the finished sanding on it. I forgot to film with both of them having just a rough sanding. And this is the final sanding, and I have a socket holding it up. I think it looks pretty good. And then here we started drilling a hole for our supporting rod to hold up the top part. We started with a small 1/2 inch or 5/8 bit, and then we switched to a 1 inch large bit. Here we're drilling the base plate. My dad helped me finish this. He drilled the base plate, and then I drilled the top plate. We're getting it all lined up, and then we started drilling with the 1/2 inch and then the 1 inch. I believe our holes were 3/8 of an inch deep. Then we turned down a bronze rod that my dad had. He helped me with this. I was not able to use the lathe to turn this part down, so Dad helped me with that. And then we parted it, and we had to clean it up on the belt sander, and I dropped it, of course. And then here's the finished product. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Bye.